So welcome to the Spiritual Frontiers September meeting. Tonight we have Derek Rydall, and he will be speaking on the Law of Emergence, Realize Your Full Potential. And this is going to be a great presentation. Want to thank you for joining us this evening. If this is your first time, welcome. And if you've been here before with us, welcome back. I understand and we've dealt with this. Anybody that does a Zoom meeting is going to deal with a technical problem or a connection problem with people from time to time. And I just wanted to say, if I want to first ask, and you can just raise your hand, did you get the email from Eventbrite? Is that how you got your access? Is that how everybody got their access? You got an email? So in that email, I take out the Zoom, the Zoom connection information, and there's a hyperlink that has an HTTP address. You just click on that and you get in the meeting. Or if you have Zoom yourself, you can enter the meeting code and then the password, which tonight's was Life1, if you happen to notice that. So those are the two ways. If you ever get the email and you're not sure exactly how to get connected, those are the two ways to get connected. So I'll let that be. I thought I'd mention that just in case any of you folks had that issue. So my name is Smith Prim. I'm the co-chairman for Spiritual Frontiers Fellowship, along with Catherine Smart. And Catherine's our writer and our editor. Kim, who is not with us tonight, he's traveling. He's our media director. He edits the videos. And if I could ask you to mute, if that might be a good thing, so that we don't talk over each other, that'd be great. If you don't know how to mute, I can do that for you. Also, so that was Kim. He's traveling, but he's usually here, and we're so blessed to have him. Eileen Jenna is with us tonight also. She is our program coordinator who brings us the great speakers that we get. And we're glad that you came to join us to experience Derek tonight. Wanted you to know that we're here for you. We are an all-volunteer run organization, and we're here to help you develop, enhance your spiritual and metaphysical awareness and consciousness. We do this by sponsoring these programs like the one tonight, and they're designed to facilitate your personal growth and development and a holistic and spiritual approach to living. Wanted to mention too, if you've been here before, we are recording this because this does go to our YouTube channel in a couple of weeks. If you don't want to be recorded, you can just turn your video off, and but most people don't have a problem. I just wanted you to know you have that option. Usually, also, we like to do a little centering, and it's just really like a 3-breath meditation. Doesn't take long. So if you could join me just a second, just relax your eyes for a second and take a deep breath in, and just breathe in through your nose. And when you breathe out, just let go anything that's left over from your day that you don't need anymore. And on the second breath, we're going to breathe in love and light into our heart and into our mind. And when we exhale what's ever left over of things you don't need. And on the third breath, we're going to breathe in more love and light. And when you breathe out, center your mind and focus on what we're here for tonight, to experience Derek and to enjoy each other and the fellowship that we have.
I forgot, but I signed it for a thing.
All right. So I'm back. Let's see. I'm going to put mute.
Signed up for.
That's okay. I hope I didn't offend anybody with that mute. So I'm very honored to introduce our speaker for tonight, Derek Rydall. So I've got a little information about him. Derek is in California. He's speaking to us tonight all the way from California, something that we couldn't do without the platform that we have here. So we feel like it's a great platform because it allows us to bring in speakers from other areas that normally wouldn't be able to just travel to Raleigh just to speak for a night. So we're grateful for that. Derek is a transformational leader, a best-selling author and spiritual teacher to a global audience of hundreds of thousands of people. He has spent the last 20 years guiding individuals through the profound shifts that are happening rapidly in our changing world. He's helped these people evolve so that they take their lives and work to new levels and can make a bigger impact on the planet. Derek did not come to this place in life easily. He has overcome some of the greatest personal challenges you could imagine, starting with a near-death experience that opened him up to realms beyond the mind, then divorce and the loss of a fortune, and a heartbreaking death of his son. The latter event really deepened his understanding of the principles of healing, personal growth, and unbound potential of the human spirit to overcome anything and to rise to higher levels as a result. With his best-selling book, Emergence, The 7 Steps for Radical Life Change, he has revealed the revolutionary law of emergence that empowers individuals to unlock the innate perfection in every aspect of their lives. This is what Derek will speak about with us tonight. In his book, The Abundance Project, 40 Days to More Wealth, Health, and Love and Happiness, he presents a proven system for activating the abundance principle, liberating people from the belief that external circumstances dictate their destiny. As a screenwriter, Derek has developed film and TV projects for major studios such as Universal, Miramax, 20th Century Fox, Disney, and many indie producers. Derek is also known for coaching top executives in Fortune 500 companies and celebrities and media professionals. His clients include Oscar and Emmy winners, who he has helped to create content that uplifts, transforms them and their audiences. In the metaphysical realm, Derek has shared stages with luminaries such as Deepak Chopra, Marianne Williamson, Michael Beckwith, and Wayne Dyer. And with his popular podcast, Emergence, so that'd be a good thing to tune into after this show, which has accumulated nearly 2 million downloads, he continues to empower and inspire individuals to become their best selves. Derek is the founder of a thriving community of over 200,000 transformational teachers, speakers, coaches, healers, performers, artists, entrepreneurs, executives, and everyday people. As such, he is fostering a global movement of individuals dedicated to personal growth and social change, and empowering and inspiring them to become their best selves so that they can contribute to creating a world that works for the highest good of all. So with that, I am going to introduce Derek. He's going to speak to us. There is some interaction in his presentation, and we'll have the Q&A. We'll have a little break about 8:30 or 8-ish something when he's ready to wrap up, and then we'll have our time with Q&A, which is he's telling us that that's his main thing. That's where he'll want to spend a lot of time with us. So looking forward to that. Off to you, Derek.
Thank you so much. It's an honor and a pleasure. Unfortunately, now after reading that bio, we're all out of time. So I like to jokingly say sometimes it's like all that information. And I want to also say that, you know, we'll see what unfolds today, because I'm in a very deep, in my own and another initiation and transformational period right now. Very much not my will, but thy will be done. A very deep releasing. And we'll talk, I believe, more and more about that, which is really about a transition from not just from merely being a human who's trying to make things happen and improve and fix their life, but also the metaphysical mind-based form of trying to fix and improve our life, ultimately to the mystical, which is about realizing we don't actually have a life to improve. And all of our efforts to fix, change, heal, and improve are actually coming from this sense of separation. But before we jump into that, I also just feel like I want to take a moment to lead you even a little more deeper into not just a centering, but a releasing process. So just take a moment with me and take a nice deep breath into the back of your heart. And as you exhale, Feel yourself completely releasing the past. Letting go of the entire past up to this moment. In the understanding that the past is just a memory, a mental concept. You've never actually had a past other than a mental concept. Let it go. And take a nice deep breath into the front of the heart. And exhale any concern for the future. Releasing all of the future. And the understanding that the future is just a fantasy. You'll never have a future. You'll never arrive to a future. The future is always and forever a mental concept, a fantasy. Let it go. And now take a breath into the front and the back of the heart. And release even what we call the present. We've heard so often, be present, that the present moment is what's real, but actually the present moment is mostly imagination. It's the memory and the fantasy, past and future, coming together to create a story, a map of reality and identity and a story that we live inside. Just notice there's a story that you have about the condition, about yourself, about life, about the world. It's all a mental construct that is coagulated into what we call our condition. Breathe and let it go. Like a film strip in a projector, the frame that has just gone past the light is the past. The frame that is yet to come into the light is the future. And the frame currently in front of the light is what we call the present, projecting an image, a story on the screen of our mind. But it's all just part of the film strip. It's all just part of the movie, the story. And it might be a tragedy or it might be a comedy, but it's still just a story. And as you let go of the film strip, all that remains is the light. I am the light. I am not the story that it is projecting through, no matter how good or bad. Right here, right now, without story, all that there is unconditioned and unconditional life. Before Abraham was, I am. Before the whole human story, I am. Behind the scene, SEEN, I am. The same yesterday, today, and forever. I am not looking for the way, I am the way. I am not seeking the light, I am the light. I am not trying to find the truth, I am the truth. I, in the midst of me, is mighty, is God. Take no thought for your life, but seek first the kingdom of heaven within. This I that I am. Rest in me. Turn to me. For to know God aright is life eternal. Take a breath. and surrender more fully to now, here, I am. Now, here, when you put those words together, is nowhere. I am. I already am. Not I will be, not I was, not when something or someone outside of me changes, not even when my mind or emotions or physical body changes. Now, here, I am. This is the good news. The good news was not that at some point in history, Jesus came or Buddha came or some great mystic came, the Christ, the Buddha mind, the Atman. The good news that all great teachers have taught is that it is and forever always here. The good news is not that some master died or left and will come back. The good news is I will never leave thee nor forsake thee. I am with thee always. Wherever you make your bed, whatever the seeming condition, I am with you, in the midst of you, as you. I liveth, yet not I, but Christ, God, life, truth, liveth in me and as me. And I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly. Now. 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 That's the grace. Not through might or power, but by my grace. And as you rest and even rest more and surrender more to the truth of this, if you can feel it, than you ever have. Let everything go to this. If you can even feel the slightest pinprick of light and truth in this, surrender to it. More than I want to fix, change, heal, or control anything or anyone, including myself, I want to rest in thee. I want to know the truth that sets me free and be a transparency of ultimate reality. Use me, life. Use me, love. Use me, God. Make me an ever purer, clearer instrument of thee. That's it. Not my will, not the will of the collective consciousness, of the mere mortal mind, but the will of the universe, the will of love itself. Let that be done in me and through me. Take a breath. Feeling your whole body surrender, dropping down, 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 into your heart, into your soul, into that aching place in you that is yearning for something more. As you now have thrown open your heart and soul and being more, yes, there may be self-talk coming up, resistance. What is he talking about? How is this going to help me pay my rent? Or what does this have to do with emergence? Or whatever the self-talk is. Notice it, bless it, release it, and just surrender to this unconditioned and unconditional love and life that is who and what you really are, that has never been touched, diminished, hurt, and never can be, that is the source of everything. Drink from the fountain of you. All these stories where they're searching for the fountain of youth was misdirection. You must drink from the fountain of you. You must dig a deeper well into your being until all there is well-being. Drink from the fountain of you and be renewed. I am the resurrection. All the years the locusts have eaten shall be restored unto you. The manna from heaven is falling every day, every eternal moment. Everything is here. Nothing is missing. And from this place of even just an inkling of understanding, now ask yourself and be willing to hear and receive like never before. What is the great vision of life, of God, of love that is seeking to emerge in me? What is it for which I have come? Who and what am I really? What am I really made of and really made for? And listen. Observe. Your spirit is speaking in a language and in a way you can receive. It doesn't know anything about your past because there is none. It doesn't care about any seeming condition or obstacle because to it there is none. It just wants to be unleashed, to release the imprisoned splendor that's within you. And there's no time to it. It doesn't matter how many years it's been. Right now is the appointed time. Now are the fields white under the harvest. Lift up your eyes and behold, it's right here, available for you. Total renewal, total resurrection, total regeneration, total fulfillment of a destiny of greatness. Ask again and surrender to it. What is God's idea of me? What is life's greatest vision to unfold and flower as me? What does it look like, feel like, to really be all that I was made to be and do? Take a breath. Open. And if you notice again resistance or self-talk, like, I don't know, I'm not sure, it's too late, I'm not enough, just again notice, bless it, release it, and come back. But what if I really could just be all that I want to be? All that deep down I've always most deeply desired to be. And there was no expiration date on it. What if now was the appointed time and I could be and create and contribute in all the ways that my heart and soul desire? What does that look like? Who would I be? What would my life look like? What would I dare to do, dare to change? Hear those long forgotten dreams, desires. There's a mighty mission, a great purpose of love. Creative brilliance, abundance. Take a breath and ask, what else? If I wasn't holding back anything, what would God grant me? What would love grant me? If I could truly be all that I'm meant to be and create all that I'm here to create. And now, as you're touching even a little bit of that, Ask honestly, and what do I perceive are the biggest obstacles in my way? What is the story I've told myself or tell myself for why I haven't or I can't be this or do this, have this or create this? Keep breathing, keep opening, softening. Stay with yourself. If you notice impatience or agitation or any resistance, again, notice it. Just witness it. You don't have to do anything about it. It deserves to have its space. And come back to your heart, to that place where the light is bubbling up, that inner ache, that inner stirring of divinity into activity. The only thing life wants is to flower and flourish as you. You want to know the purpose of life? That is it. The full flowering and flourishing of every seed in creation, of every divine idea. That's it. From glory to greater glory, world of wonders without end.
When you stop babbling,
That is why in the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus said, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. But if you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. And why he cursed the fig tree that wasn't producing its fruit. And why a gardener prunes the branch that does not bloom. All of life is saying, bloom, or you'll be pruned by nature. Bloom. Say yes. Yes to your yes. Take one more breath and just check and see if there's anything more that wants to emerge right now. Anything more you need to hear or know to know the truth of what is trying to emerge in you and what you perceive as being in the way. And when you're ready, come back to your body, back to your room, and just take a moment to jot down whatever came up. And you don't have to write a manifesto right now, just take a couple notes to capture it. And I want to invite you, even while your outer ear is listening to me, keep your inner ear listening to what I'm listening to. Even while your outer eyes might be open, try to keep a little bit of your inner eye open, that inner receptivity. And I want to also invite you to post in the chat briefly, like a sentence or two. Here's the vision that I saw. Here's the vision that's coming up for me. Here's what I want to do and be. And here's what is in the way. And part of this is multi-part. Part of it is the act of creation is naming, knowing it, identifying it, claiming it, and circulating it, beginning to find some way to begin to lean into it and live into it. Sharing it is one of the first acts of creation. Because ultimately, with the whole emergence paradigm, which I'll get into more, whatever's missing is what you're not giving. Because everything is already within you. So if you want more of anything to come into your life, you must find a way to let more and more life come out of you. And that starts with your willingness to be inspired, to see, to have an idea, to think it, to speak it, to share it. So take what came through, and even and especially if you're a little bit shy, and it doesn't have to be a manifesto again, and post it in the chat. Just take a minute to do that. And just keep noticing what comes up. Some of you are all sitting there going, I didn't think I'd have to do anything. I just wanted to listen. I said I could sit back and listen. What's he got me doing stuff now? And as specific as you can be, the better. And this is not just for my sake, but for yours. When we find ourselves saying things like, fear and self-doubt hold me back, that's understandable. You know, you want to be as specific as possible. One of the things the ego does is it keeps us general, because the more specific we get, the more we actually can do something about it. So it's like, specifically, I want to do, be, or create this. And the specific fear is that this will happen, or that this specific thing won't happen, and it will mean this. Now, again, you may not have all these answers, but I'm giving you this additional understanding that until the guidance or the thoughts become specific and actionable, it's a trick of the ego to make you think you're thinking clearly, when in fact you're thinking in fuzzy math that will not add up to anything. Math only works if you're very specific. And it's the same thing with the mind. And I can get into more of that later as needed, but I just wanted to share that piece. Great, so go ahead and can keep posting. Don't be shy, even especially if you think you got nothing. If that's you, then one of the greatest things for you is going to be leaning in a little more, engaging a little more, opening up the spigot and beginning to let it drip and start the circulation. The law of circulation, again, whatever's missing is what you're not giving, because everything is in you. And let me just back up for a moment here. I mean, some of you, you know a little bit about my story. Some of you may have already read my book or books, but you heard initially that I've been on a journey, over 20 years of trying to understand the nature of reality and how to actualize our full potential. My whole life has been answering the question, what am I really here for, and how can I be it and live it in a successful and sustainable way? And that's increasingly become a spiritual quest, where at first it was to prove to my dad that I could be successful as an artist, and to prove to my mom I could be a good man, and it's evolved over time, but it's still underlying and trying to answer the question, who and what am I really, and why am I alive, and how can I be it fully and freely and sustainably? And over the last 10 years or so, I've gone through a lot of challenges through my life, but as you heard, I've been through my own little story of Job over the last decade, from a painful divorce after 23 years where I lost everything, thought I was going to lose my family, everything I built for the most part. And then I had to go through a dark night to rebuild that. And then I lost my son. And that shattered me in ways that are unimaginable unless you've experienced it, and continue to be a journey that is transforming me. And I may or may not get into any aspect of that tonight. Needless to say, it's a profound initiation. And then having a fortune stolen from me, so losing my fortune for the second time, and having to rebuild it back, not merely by outer work, but by digging a deeper well into my own being, and greater surrender and greater humility. And then my wife going through cancer. And, so I've gone through, so the things that I talk about and teach are not theoretical. I've worked with millionaires and billionaires and tech moguls and media moguls and Oscar and Academy winners. And I've written movies and books and spoken and taught tens and tens of thousands of people and watched their lives transform from all manner of challenging, dark places to overcoming just about anything, or just taking it from being good to being great. So none of this is theoretical, but some of it can be antithetical to what we've been taught. In fact, the whole paradigm of emergence is exactly the opposite of what we've been conditioned as humans. And even it's the real teaching of the mystic, it's the real teachings of Jesus and Buddha, and it's even antithetical to most of what's taught in the metaphysical movement. And when you understand it, when you see it, you'll understand. Hopefully, I'll convey to you why it's critical. And it doesn't mean all these steps and stages aren't valuable. It's important to learn all the stages. You got to learn how to crawl before you can walk, before you can run, before you can build a plane and fly. So it's important you don't step over a stage. But it's also important that you recognize the purpose of the stages. And if you really want to keep growing and evolving, and if you're stuck, it's often because the chronic challenges of your life are because you're trying to survive in a world view, in a map of reality that is too small for you now. I'm going to say that again. If you have chronic challenges or you're stuck, it's because you're trying to survive in a paradigm that is too small. And you've already activated a bigger something, right? And so for me, for many, many years, I was trying to, improve myself. I was on the self-help, self-improvement, kick for a long time. And after a decade of self-improvement, the only thing I'd improved was my ability to describe why my life was so screwed up. Okay. I could tell you when I was 10 and I got all A's and a B, and my dad said, "What's with the B, son?" And when I was 6, and I could tell you all the reasons, like lying on a therapist couch. I could tell you all the reasons, why I was such a neurotic mess. And I tried to do all the attraction and manifestation, but again, all I was doing was attracting and manifesting more frustration. And eventually it drove me to drugs and alcohol, and then to almost dying of an overdose. And I thought, as I was lying in the emergency room with the IV snaking out of my arm, and the doctor told me I was lucky to be alive, I didn't feel so lucky. I didn't understand how all of my efforts of self-improvement had gotten me to such a low place. And I figured, well, I must just need to work harder or work smarter or learn to attract better. And so I redoubled my efforts. And for a while, that seemed to work. Like, you ever notice when you take that new workshop, or some of you think you get inspired to get on this call and there'll be some momentum. But then very quickly, things started hitting a wall again. I ended up getting a part. I was an actor, and I was doing a movie in Jamaica. And I was plagued by this deep sense of almost a suicidality, and such deep angst, even while the outer things had gotten better. And I was doing this movie, and then everything started falling apart again. And finally, I just was so frustrated. I prayed to just get lost from everything. And I went diving in a coral reef. And again, some of you may know this story, but I very quickly did get lost in this coral reef. So be careful what you pray for, kids, because it really can work. And I got stuck in what looked like an underwater booby trap tomb out of an Indiana Jones movie. Giant rows of spiked coral below me that could puncture me and skewer me and bleed me out for the sharks, in no time flat. Fire coral all around me, so I couldn't touch the wall. Nobody knew I was out there. And I was completely stuck and didn't know how to get out. And I was trying to negotiate, please, God, if you get me out of this, I promise to go to church on Sunday. I wasn't really a church boy, but I said, I'll go, I promise this time. And the universe was not playing let's make a deal. And it started to get dark, and the sand sharks were swimming beneath me, and who knows what else. And there was a moment where, and I couldn't lift my head out of the water to see where I was because I would be punctured by these spikes. I was really, truly stuck. And I got to a moment where it wasn't that I was afraid I was going to die. It was, I knew I wasn't going to make it. And if you haven't experienced that, again, it's a very different space than, oh my God, I hope I can get out. But it's a deep, dull, aching sense of it's the end. And all that was left was to surrender, real surrender, unconditional surrender. And so I let go. And in that moment, there was a flash. And in this flash, I saw that the self I'd been trying to fix, change, heal, and improve and fix, all this time was an amalgamation of parental fantasies and peer pressure and societal conditioning. And that nothing I would ever do would ever make him enough. But that simultaneously, there was another self there. And this self had never been damaged, so he didn't need to be fixed. And this self was already whole and complete, so he couldn't be improved upon. Now, I want you to really let that sink in, even though some of you are like nodding, yeah, I get it. And it was just a flash. And in the next moment, I was standing outside of the reef on this piece of coral that I didn't know was there. I'm not sure exactly even how I got there. I have little flashes, but I still don't quite know how I got out of the water and onto this coral and was now staring down into the hole that I'd been trapped. But there I was. And I could see this coral reef, and it was a maze that I'd been traveling in my whole life, following shiny colored things, gasping and drowning until I literally did, that part of me drowned in that reef that day. Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall and there was no putting it back together again. Something inside of me snapped. And the guy that swam out was not the guy that had swam in. And everything was shimmering. There was luminosity behind everything. And I pulled out of society. I was, an upcoming actor and, successful doing movies and all these things. And I decided to become a monk. And the monk life didn't work so well. I tried it a couple of weeks in a monastery, completely silent, completely fasting. And, I got so hungry and so freaked out that I broke into the monk's kitchen in the middle of the night and stole food out of their refrigerator. And who knows what I was eating. I was opening it up just enough so the light wouldn't go on and let them know I was stealing their food. And then I was probably eating bird food, I don't know what. And I went back to my little cell and got violently sick and had my first of many out-of-body experiences where I was basically being chased out of the monastery, probably by the monks. They were like, get out of here, kid, you don't belong here. But I ended up cloistering myself in my apartment for many years and going on this inner journey to understand what had happened to me. What did I see? Because I didn't know how to relate to the world the same way anymore. And what I saw fundamentally was that just as in every seed, there is a pattern. And like the acorn, which is the one I often use, there's the pattern of an oak. And the acorn does not achieve an oak. The acorn does not attract an oak. The acorn is not an inadequate oak tree. It's a perfect acorn. The acorn has the pattern of the oak, and the pattern of the oak is in the field of the acorn from a quantum physics perspective. It's not just there in potential, it's there actual, right? Schrodinger's cat is both dead and alive, if you know that experiment. The oak tree is fully there and it's not there. It's there just as a pattern and it's there completely. And I'll put it another way. Right now, your favorite song is playing right here, right here. But you cannot hear it. It does not exist manifestly unless you know what station it's on and you're tuned in to that station. Would you all agree? It's playing here somewhere in the multiverse of music, but you have to know what station, and then you have to tune in. And so that pattern of that seed is likewise. And when that seed surrenders to the soil, nature, the law of emergence in the soil naturally creates the conditions that become a match for that seed. And then that oak emerges, that potential emerges. And I saw that this was true for all of nature, including human nature, that there's a pattern within us, a divine idea that is a part of a larger pattern, the logos, the great I am, right? Like there's many parts to an engine, but it all adds up to an engine or to the vehicle, the one body of Christ, however you want to look at it. But we are, or like we are all notes in one great symphony, and the universe means one song. And we're all notes in that one song, and we also contain the whole song. And I could see suddenly, and I've been reading the Bible and Buddhism, and I was using those books more as doorstops than anything else, literally throwing the Bible across the room because I just didn't get it. It just sounded like a bunch of fancy Shakespearean, English. And I was like, this is nonsense, right? And I was meeting a lot of Christians, and I'm like, if that's what it means, I don't know if I wanted part of that, So, but now suddenly I could read all these texts and I could see across all the great teachings the same truth, which has all been saying, you're it, tag, you're it. It's already within you. Take no thought for your life, what you shall eat or drink, or wherewithal you shall be clothed, neither for tomorrow, but seek first the kingdom of heaven within you, and all these things will be added unto you. Buddha talked about desire being the root of all suffering, and he broke it down to saying your craving and aversion, which means the constant incessant drive to get more or to get rid of something. If I just get enough of something or get rid of enough of something, I'll finally be enough. And what Buddha was teaching is if you just become still and find equanimity and let that karma and samskaras be burned away, you will discover you are already in nirvana. When they said, what are you? Are you a master, a prophet? He said, I'm awake. Jesus was teaching the same thing. And so I saw all of that. And then I saw that so much of what I'd learned, certainly what I'd learned as a human being, right? The Protestant work ethic of you're an empty shell and you got to go out there and, make something of yourself. Or the religious shadow, you're an evil, terrible sinner and you got to go out there and prove and overcome your badness. And then even there was the metaphysical movement, right? Use the power of your mind. You're still a human being, but you got to attract it to you. Whether it was achieving or overcoming or attracting, I saw that all of these methods were false. They were relative stages, but they were all the resistance to what was trying to naturally emerge. And instead, what I realized was that the real teaching of the great master teachers was, again, as we did in the opening meditation, was there's only two things that are necessary. Now, in the emergence process, the emergeneering, I have 7 steps. But like the 10 commandments, really only the first 2 matter the most. I mean, they're all important. Don't get me wrong. Don't kill, don't steal. But fundamentally, love God with all your heart and soul and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself is pretty much, if you do those 2, you've kind of got it all. And likewise, with the emergence work, the first 2 steps are see the completed vision and create the congruent conditions. Now, and if you haven't read the book, I'll break that down a little bit more. But basically, see the completed vision means, as Stephen Covey used to teach, begin with the end in mind. Or as Jesus taught in Matthew, I believe it was, that he who has more shall be given, and he shall be multiplied. Whereas to he who has not, even what he has will be taken away. So you have to realize what you have. You have to realize what is that seed planted in the soil of your soul. Now, this, of course, makes so much sense. If you're a gardener, how are you going to know how to grow that seed if you don't know what the seed is? So you got to know what the seed is. How much of our education and of our journey and of our human hypnotization has been about, we're here to help you figure out what is the seed of truth and potential in you. In fact, the whole journey, and most human, other than the mystery schools and the great mystical teachings, has been, let us tell you what you should be. Let us tell you what you should and shouldn't do, right? The word education comes from a Latin word that means educare, that means to educe, to draw out of. That's the real meaning of it. And so I realized it was there all along in plain sight, but all of the hypnotism of a collective consciousness of separation had been preparing me and preparing us to be about as far away from first principles as we could get. And that's why we were creating so many more fragmented conditions in our world. Step one, know thyself. That's the OG, the Oracle of Delphi, right? Know thyself. And step two, to thine own self be true. That's the wax on, wax off of spiritual martial arts, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. If you can master that, and we're going to talk more about it, but if you can really get that, that's the whole process of emergence. Know thyself, be true to yourself. Know yourself, be yourself. Know yourself, be yourself. Know yourself, be yourself. I think I can, I think I can, I know I can, I know I can. You get it? Know yourself, be yourself, know yourself, be. It's not once, I know myself. Now for the rest of my life, I'm going to be myself. No, that's yesterday. You must die daily and be reborn again. Why? Because the self is infinite. Because the knowing that you're knowing now is to get you to the next place. But to get beyond that next place, you have to let go of what got you there and allow for the revelation of more of you, which will take you higher forever. So the mastery is not just to know the answer. And now I'm just going to stick to my answer. This is who I am. This is what is true. No, that's disaster. You know why kids are young and healthy and happy and full of life, and adults are sick and miserable and broken? Because kids have only questions and adults have only answers. So living in the question, the quest you're on, is the secret. Be ye as a child to enter the kingdom of heaven. Know yourself. Why were you so excited as a kid? You're getting to know yourself in relation to the world, and get to know, and get to know, and get to know. And then get to try and get to try and get to practice. Know yourself, be yourself, know yourself, be yourself. Okay, so that's the fundamental, in terms of the time. I'll talk about a few more things that are important. But that is the most simple principle of personal transformation. And it is the most difficult, right? But again, you cannot be yourself if you don't know yourself. Can we agree with that? And you cannot know yourself if you don't realize that that is the most fundamental, most important thing that you must do. You can't grow the seed if you don't know what the seed is, except accidentally every once in a while. It's not about, and the key here is, it's not about making it happen. You can't make the seed happen. You can only make what is in it welcome. Just like when you tune into the radio station, you know the station, and now that's the know yourself. And then you tune in, that's the be yourself. That's the tuning in, being more and more true to yourself, more and more congruent. What's the truth? What's the truth? Right? There is no progress until I tell the truth. First to myself, and then to whoever is next in line. And then faith without works is dead. Knowing the truth does not set you free. Knowing and then living the truth does. Know yourself, be yourself. Are you guys picking up what I'm putting down here? And again, and I know there's going to be questions and stuff, and there's all the reasons why it's so hard. But I want you to understand that's fundamental, because you know why people are so overwhelmed and burned out and broken down and broken and diseased and divided and polarized and fragmented inside and out? Because we've been so hypnotized and so conditioned away from these two principles. And in some cases, we're trying to be ourselves without first knowing ourselves. So what are we actually trying to be? We're trying to be what mommy and daddy said so that we can be loved. Still, We're trying to be what husband or wife will like. We're trying to be what our kids will like. We're trying to be what God would think is good. We're trying to be nice and good and spiritual. There's all of these external. Remember what I said when I saw that self, when I died, pretty much in that coral reef. All that it was an amalgamation of parental fantasy, peer pressure, and societal conditioning that I was trying to make good enough. I was trying to fix, change, heal, and improve a fictional character because I didn't know myself. I was trying to be the self-projection of my parents, of society, of churches, of religions, of everybody else. The only place I wasn't actually trying to be honorable and true to was within myself. And that got shattered in that moment. And I realized my job wasn't to save anybody, save the world, or even save my previous self, but it was to serve the truth that was emerging. Be still and know that I, in the midst of thee, am God. To know me aright is life eternal. And it's within you. It's not outside. If we had only listened to that piece of Jesus, we would have been doing a lot better. Know yourself. Be yourself. And that most of our resistance is because we're so fragmented and we have all these schedules and organizational things, and we think just another day planner or another new organization or structure or something is going to make it better. It never will. Nature never needs a day planner. You ever notice that? Because nature can never go against its nature. Nature cannot do anything but surrender to its nature and let the law of emergence work its work to create the congruent conditions for its emergence. In fact, I'll just drop another little thing here. The theory of Darwinian evolution, they got it wrong. They got it partially right. It is a process of random mutations and selection, but it's not coming from nothing to something. It's the same process that evolves every seed. It's a process by which life is looking for the next best condition that is a match for the inherent and involuted pattern of reality so that it can emerge. Glory to greater glory, world without end. So it is an experiment. It's not about getting it right. It's not about doing it right. It's about knowing my goal is to know myself more fully. And then as I get clear and hints on who and what I am and why I am alive, and I start to have the courage to organize my life to be true to myself, I run the experiment. Let me try it with one wing. Okay, that didn't work out so well. Let me try it with this wing. Okay, let me try it with two wings. Hey, look at that, I'm flying. You are the product of billions of failures of evolution. But you're also here because there was enough successes. Life ran the experiment. Your consciousness has been running the experiment. So just know that as you move forward to really honor the law of emergence and to live in integrity, which is the only way you can bring forth more and more of what you're made of and made for, which is the only thing that will save you. Remember the Gospel of Thomas, if you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. Or as Brene Brown said, unexpressed creative potential is not benign, it metastasizes. So we don't even, I want you to really get, this isn't an elective. Knowing yourself in order to be yourself is a command. There's only one sin, and that is to not be true to you. Continuously. And sin, by the way, is an archery term. It means to miss the target. It also means to have the wrong target. If your target is, who do I have to be so that people like me? Sin, miss. Who do I have to be so that my husband or my father or my mother or my kids or my friends still love me? Sin. Who do I have to be so that I don't get hurt? Sin. Who do I have to be so that I'm safe, comfortable, and convenient? Sin, sin, sin. Again, it's just an archery term. You're shooting arrows at the wrong target. Or you've got too many targets because you're not willing to have the courage to be true to what you really want, to who you really want to be Anybody understand that one? You know, you got a lot of things because just in case, but what you really want is this, right? That's also sin. That's also because you're shooting arrows all over the place. You're sending a mixed message to the reticular activating system of the mind, and it's trying to adjust the target and create the conditions, but it can't. I could get into the whole neurological, what that's doing in your literal neural pathways, but we won't get into that today. So we have to, you know, my goal tonight, you know, really was to tune in and hopefully, what is the, like Einstein, what's the simplest solution on the farthest side of complexity? And for me, it really is, I had so much more and have so much more to talk about. And in the Q&As, we can go wherever you need. But I just want you to know that what you need most is to know yourself and to have the courage, the clarity, and the commitment to be yourself. And that does take some other tools, but please understand that conditions do not determine your destiny, your character does. Your character, which means the etch of God on your soul, it means that you really are, that has been subjectified in your soul, which is to know and be yourself. Your character determines your destiny. Your character is made out of your habits. Your habits, as Confucius said, all men are alike, it is their habits that separate them. Your habits are built from what you commit to consistently. And what you commit to is based on your deepest values and visions, at least the ones you're aware of. So it starts with value and vision. That's why see the completed picture, know yourself first. What do I truly want? What am I truly made of? What do I truly value? And then you have to commit to acting that. Faith without works is dead. You have to actually organize your life so that the conditions match the vision and the values. And then if you stay committed to that, you build the subjective groove. You build the character, which is like a machine of manifestation that ultimately puts your growth and your healing and your expansion on autopilot until the next time that you have to rebuild the machine by when it's time to grow again. But this is really the crux of it. And it's the simplest and most difficult thing that we have to do. But I want to also just, before we, there's a couple more things I want to touch on here. Again, this all starts from the understanding and the premise that everything really is within you. I know you all know that. You all know what Jesus said. The kingdom of heaven is within you, right? That's actually true. And there will be a need along this journey to be very honest with where you're doing things in your practice or in your life, which are habits, where you are consistently affirming and confirming that something is outside of you. And the universe is set up to betray you when you make anything outside of you your source. Especially if you have been praying and claiming to believe that God is God, that God is within you, that God is all there is, that love is all there is, that life is supporting you and conspiring for your highest good. If you've ever affirmed that, you've set in motion a transformation, but you're not living in integrity with it. You are a house divided against itself. And we all are. You're serving God when it's convenient and mammon when you're afraid. You're like, God is all there is, love is all there is, let us pray, when you're feeling good. And then when it's like, oh my God, my child, my body, my bank account, the government, and you're like affirming, I'm rich, I'm successful, or it's going to be this way. And if you look underneath it, what you're really believing is, I don't have it, it's not happening. I hope, please happen. It's a prayer and an affirmation of separation. It's an affirmation. You're trying to get something, but you need to shift it around to an affirmation. You have to understand that nothing comes to you. Notice, look around you. The branch isn't on its way to the tree. The wave isn't on its way to the ocean. The sunbeam isn't on its way to the sun. Everything is coming from. You're not on your way to God or good or wholeness or health or wealth or anything. You're coming from it. You're on your way to an ever greater flowering and flourishing and radiating and releasing the imprisoned splendor of the inner kingdom of God that is within you. You see that? And if you see that, and if you agree with that, then you can begin to ask, if I really believed that, how would I begin to think differently? How would I begin to act differently? How would I begin to organize my life, not to get, but to open out away from whence this imprisoned splendor may escape, as the poet Robert Browning said? How can I stop waiting? Understand that whatever I'm waiting for, I'm weighing it down and holding it back, because life's not holding anything back from me. Life's within me. That's why this is the ultimate weight loss program. WAIT. Time to lose all that weight, ladies and gentlemen. So we begin to notice, where am I waiting for something or someone to change, including myself? What did Gandhi say? You got to be the change you want to see. Where am I trying to get something from someone else, believing I'm lacking? Where do I have the impulse to give and share more, but I'm holding it back? This is where you're breaking the natural circuit of circulation for the natural emergence and the flourishing and the flowering of what's in you. And again, there are reasons behind that. There are values conflicts and shadows, which again, we're not going to have time to, I'm not going to have time to get into. I may get into it in the Q&A if you ask me questions about that, but I'm not saying this is easy. What I want to impress upon you is that this is the way. This is the good news, and that this is the path. Know yourself, be yourself, which means there's nothing more important to dedicate yourself to than to self-realization. And I don't mean just self personality-wise, although that's important, but ultimately self with a capital S. And then there's secondarily nothing more important than to thine own self be true, which sometimes will mean looking selfish to others, and other times will mean having to make sacrifices for yourself, in order to serve others. And in both cases, it'll take courage. And the only way to keep staying on that path is through commitment. It's really making that sacred vow, that covenant with God within your own soul. God, I'm scared. I don't know what's up, but more than I want to try to fix, change, heal myself or anybody or anything, I want to know the truth that makes me free. I want to be a transparency of thee. Use me, God. Send me, God. Command these hands and feet. What must they do? I know that I myself am nothing. I myself know nothing. If I think I'm something, I am a branch cut off from the tree that withers and dies. I'm ready, God, in the humility of this moment and of my heart as your servant. Use me, send me, I'm willing. That's the prayer you want to pray every day, in your own way and in your own words. Remembering God has already done it all. God has done it all and named it good. That's Genesis, the first chapter of Genesis. The perfect creation of God, the Platonic forms of Plato. The second chapter of Genesis is the creation of mind. It's the beginning of individual consciousness being born, and we created a whole world separate from God. That's not a problem. That's part of the evolution of individuality. But the way back is to recognize we are the prodigal daughter and son, that we have bought into the hypnotic spell that we have a life separate from God. And we've been looking outside all this time trying to figure out, who should I be? Who should I be? What should I do to survive, to be enough? Oh, let me use this spiritual stuff. Let me use these prayers and affirmations. Let me use this Protestant work ethic. And none of it's quite working. And all along the message is, look within. Know thyself. Surrender. seek first the kingdom, and then have the courage as it emerges to be yourself. And then take the third step, which is the third step of emergence, and I'll stop here, which is to create and design a life. This is where you have to be, remember old saying, treat and then move your feet? Some of you probably know that. You got to organize, you got to design a life that is in integrity with who and what you truly are and truly want to be. You got to know the vision, you got to create the congruent conditions, and you got to make the quantum plan. So it's faith without works is dead. You want to know what you really believe? You want to know your true religion? Look at your credit card, your bank account, your conversations, your calendar. You'll see what you really value. And what you want is if somebody was to look at all of those things and follow you around and you could never tell them anything, they would know who you are, what you're made of and made for, and what you're really committed to and what you have faith in. So we have to begin to repair the structural disintegrity of our house by increasingly going, what's the truth? Who am I? What am I standing for? What am I really made of? What's really trying to emerge? And if I was trusting and having faith and being true to that, what's the conversation I would have? What's the one I would stop having? What are the actions I would start taking? What are the ones I would stop? What are the environments I would start creating? What are the ones I would be out of? What's the project I would commit to? What's the one I would release? Et cetera, as you build an integral design for your life that is constantly a reflection of your commitment to know yourself and to be yourself. And then as you do that, all the other things that you need are added unto you. And that integrated and ever-emerging consciousness begins to manifest from glory to greater glory. And it doesn't matter the challenges you've been through. All of that can be restored unto you and more. So I hope this is inspiring, challenging. And again, there's so much more I could share. And if you haven't read the book Emergence or Abundance Project, I encourage you to do that. I also encourage you to check out the Emergence podcast, where I go a lot more deeper into that. And there was one other thing I wanted to, I don't know if just in case this, because the part where I talked about creating the congruent conditions, I'm going to give you a free thing here. I'm just going to drop it in the Zoom. And if you don't already have that, there's some free trainings in there for you that will allow you to begin to create the character of success, to begin to design a life that is more and more in integrity with yourself. And what I want you to notice in all of this, it's not about fixing and changing and healing as much as it is like the great Michelangelo seeing the sculpture, the angel already there imprisoned in the block of stone, and then chipping away everything that isn't it. That's another way to think about it. Remember, it's already here. God has already done all that God's going to do, and God's done it perfect. And God is not withholding anything. God is being all of God right here, right now, as you, like that song already playing in the frequency. But everything we're doing is simply to find our way back and come into greater connection and integrity with who and what we already are and with the way it already is. That's the key. It's not an anti or against. It's constantly being for more of knowing the truth and being the truth, and a deeper devotion. And what does happen, it probably has for many of you, and I said I'm in a deeper period now, with each of these great challenges and crises, I'll just end here, is, we go along and we use all these tools and we think we have an idea of what we're doing. We think we know something. And just when you think you know something, be careful. But because the wrecking ball is coming, if you're lucky. And so, and finally, when I lost my son, that was again, one of the most profoundly shattering experiences. And it definitely brought me to a place of complete emptiness and a complete humble understanding that I know nothing. And ironically, out of that emptiness, and not so ironically, when you understand the principle, a level of love and inspiration poured through me 10x what I had before. I wrote like 5 books, like 200 songs. I would show up to calls empty. I got nothing. And I would even tell my community, I don't have anything for you. And then 5 minutes later, it's just like, and healings and tears and people are having breakthrough. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess I don't really need to know anything, right? And there's a deeper humility that comes, where you really recognize that the more you know nothing. And that he who knows does not speak, and he who speaks does not know. Of course, if you hear how much I speak, I guess I'm still pretty stupid. Shows that I pretty much don't know anything because I still talk a lot. But that's the ongoing journey. It's a journey of really becoming more and more humble. And like I said, my only prayer now is not my will, but thy will be done. In the realization that as good as I think, or as much as I think I know, or what should or shouldn't be, life, God, truth knows infinitely more. And it's kind of like, well, why not just go with the best choice? If you have 2 people and one of them knows everything and one of them knows some things, which one would you rather be in charge? It's kind of obvious, right? Well, it's clear that I don't know everything, and this infinite intelligence that created everything definitely knows more than me. I think I'll let you take it from here, God. So that's my invitation and prayer for you, that you continue to expand and unfold and unfurl, so that you can say with Paul, I live, but not I. Christ liveth in me and has me. And you become the instruments and the transparencies of love and light and truth that you are meant to be. And I can't wait to see what emerges next. So thank you, guys. Much love to you. Hope that was helpful.
That was.
Like I
Thank
said,
you,
inspiring,
Derek.
confrontive, brought up some questions. And I know we were probably going to take a little break, and then we can come back for some Q&A.
Yes, thank you so much, Derek. That was awesome. And we did reach that time. That was so inspiring. I was off in another world like 2 or 3 times during that meditation. I don't know if I didn't look. It's funny because I was like, well, what if somebody sees me drifting? And I was like, I catch myself, and it's like, no, they're doing their thing. They're not looking at you. So
Right.
I was, I knew that. I didn't look at them, but I was thinking that in my head. It's like, what if somebody sees you drifting off like that? It's like, it doesn't matter. Nobody, even if they did. But that was wonderful.
I took a nap a couple times while I was talking, so I drifted off. I was out of the picture many times, so don't feel bad.
Okay. Well, we do take about a 5-minute, just a break. And if you don't want to step away from your computer and you just want to chat, we, just kind of, we speak and we talk for a couple of minutes. And it is right now, I've got on mine 8:19. So at 8:24, we'll get back started with the Q&A. And so
That's good.
I will offer that to anyone who needs that break.
All right.
Thank you, Derek.
Let all that stuff go.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Everybody would give a round of applause for Derek, and send out some love from your heart. And thank you so much.
Thank you, guys, ladies and gentlemen. It's been my real honor, real pleasure. You did amazing, amazing work. And just know you'll continue to be in my heart and in my prayers. So let's do this.
All right. All right. Well, thank you, and have a
much
good night.
love to you all. Take care, everybody.
Okay. Good night.